Well, good morning and a warm welcome back to another week on the plot. Not sure what I'll be doing today. Beautiful sunrise, but with that beautiful sunrise means cold temperatures. So the water butts, the pond, the ground is all frozen. It's not great. It's not a great freeze, so it'll warm up and thaw out as soon as that sun gets higher. But not sure what I can achieve on the plot at the moment. It is now March, which is just such good news. But of course, sowing has to be done not by date, but by weather. So at the moment, with the very cold nights, I've got a little propagator that I can plug in on the windowsill in the kitchen. But of course, with our impending move, you know, there's only so much I can do because we've got to be able to pick it up and take it to the new property if it happens. So yeah, it's all very, the move itself and not being able to really get stuck in is a bit frustrating, but you know, these are the things you have to go through if you want to realise your ambitions, aren't they? I'm sure you've all done it before. Not sure how much I'll, you know, manage to get done on the allotment or the new garden this year, but that doesn't bother me. It's just so exciting as we move inexorably towards it. Anyway, I'm going to spend the day on the plot. You're very welcome to be here. Well, the cold temperatures have left my broad beans looking rather limp and sorry for themselves, but as you will know, broad beans are resilient little fellas, and I'm sure by 10 o'clock, when the sun is warming the plot, these will be standing straight and proud, he says, ever hopeful. It is lovely to see the first daffodils of the season out on my plot. I've seen them around for a week or two now in people's gardens and the road verges, but these are the first ones on the plot. And there's a haze across my plot, not caused by fog or mist, but by my stove churning out smoke. But I love it. I know I'm repeating myself, but I have to say that this Cavolo Nero kale, excuse me, apart from being downwind of the fire, has been absolutely fantastic. As we go through all the fruit in our freezers at home making smoothies, this is the best accompaniment. We actually drink our kale. But it's been fantastic, and it never looks better than when it's coated in a beautiful light frost. Well, little Lexi's deer planter has put on the very best display of snowdrops on my plot this year. She planted those, I guess is it 2 or 3 years ago? I can't remember. But they are such a beautiful display. It's amazing to me the varying degrees to which different people with their allotments on YouTube are busy at this time of year. Some people, you know, they're posting videos and they're doing nothing. and I'm almost in that category myself. And then there are other people who are so busy. They've got large greenhouses, they're very productive, they're very orderly. It's lovely to watch. Leaves me feeling rather inadequate, but I do love the range of activities, expertise, enthusiasm. Some people are more enthusiastic than others. Don't know why I'm mentioning that, but I just thought I'd say these garden pots, which are rather expensive items, but like anything in life, you get what you pay for. They've lasted us over 10 years. They're completely frost hardy. They're things of beauty in the summer, but they've all been emptied. The old spent compost has been scattered across my plot, and they've been refilled with wonderful organic cow muck, well rotted. So I shall top them off with a bit of bought compost in a week or two, and these will be ready to either go back to the garden if the sale falls through, or to our new and exciting property if it doesn't. Well, as there's not much happening on my plot at this time of the year, and I have mentioned and shown the site at large before, I thought I'd have a wander through with you. I think this is my 9th summer coming up. I was here in 2017, March, so yeah, so it's an anniversary. And I have to say, this is the worst the site has ever looked. So this is the first plot as you come up the track. Yeah, unfortunately we don't really have a community spirit here. Most people don't attend their plots, and those that do tend to keep themselves to themselves. When I first came here, we used to have 3, maybe 2 or 3 get-togethers a year, either to work on the plots or on the site, getting rid of old wood, etc., with bonfires, painting this shed in front of me, or you know, just a summer barbecue. We used to do all sorts of different things, but unfortunately it's all dropped off as people have left. We haven't had anybody new on the site for a few years. Certainly nobody active. So yeah, it's all looking a bit shoddy. It's rather depressing. I don't worry too much about it now. It used to bother me greatly, but I'm sort of resigned to it now. And of course, hopefully, I shall be out of here in a year. But yeah, none of these plots are really worked. But we come across John's plot now. John took on a second plot last year, about this time I think. This is his original one. I don't think he would mind me saying that he is struggling a bit. He's no spring chicken, John, but he is a hard worker and he sticks at it. And this is his second plot. He inherited this makeshift greenhouse. And of course through the winter it's been a struggle because it's all flooded, but he is doing his level best and he will get there. So he'll have a second plot. But you know, you can see here the amount of rubbish, brambles. These plots are all paid for. There is not a single plot on here that has not been paid for by a tenant. It's remarkable, isn't it? Yes. Even this one here, fully paid up and hasn't been here once. And then there's this shoddy individual down the end here. This is my effort. So yeah, the plot's looking, or the site is looking truly awful, but not a lot I can do about that. My plot is raring to go, as am I. This is my 16th year as a self-employed gardener. It's been a fascinating second career for me. And the most fascinating part of it is not the gardening, it's the people. And I do remember many years ago, I gave a lady a quote to cut her hedge, quite a high hedge. And I got the job. I turned up about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I got stuck in, and I was up my 4-legged ladder cutting the top, and she came up down the garden. I was in the back garden, and she said, "Martin, could you come in the kitchen please?" And I thought, well, that's strange. Anyway, I walked in the kitchen and her husband was sitting at the kitchen table. Huge man, absolutely massive, could barely walk, and sat in front of him, and then on the opposite side was a full English cooked breakfast. Sausages, bacon, egg, the full works. And there was one for me. Well, of course, I'd had my breakfast at home. And back then, Cheryl and I still ate meat. You know, I wasn't expecting that. And I didn't like to say, "Oh, I've already had breakfast, thank you," because it was sat there waiting for me. She didn't tell me she was going to do that. It was strange. Anyway, I said, "Oh, thank you very much." So I sat down and did the honourable thing, and I ate the breakfast. Not quite sure what I do now, because I wouldn't eat meat now. Anyway, I tell you that. Oh, and the thing, one of the things I've learned over the years is when you get to a certain age, your favourite topic of conversation is your own health. It's all people talk about. Now, I don't mind that because I'm fascinated by health. especially bad health. So I happened to know that this old fella, who was so fat he could barely walk, was waiting for a heart operation. I think it was his second or third heart operation. But there was an issue with the anaesthetist. Because he was so fat, they were worried that it could kill him going under the knife. Anyway, that's what we talked about as we ate our breakfast, and I couldn't help, even then, before I'd done all this stuff on health, I said perhaps the best thing is not to be eating a full English breakfast, which I learned during the meal that he had every day. That was their breakfast every day. And she said, why wouldn't you eat a full English breakfast? It's the best way to start the day. I said, well, he's got a heart problem. Yeah. And I mean, I shut up. But it was fascinating to me that they didn't understand the link between what he was shoving in his cake hole and his terrible disease. Within 6 months, he was dead. He didn't get that operation. And it fascinated. And I remember that was one of the sort of things I remember thinking, wow, he doesn't understand, or she doesn't understand that she's killing him every day. Anyway, the reason I mention it is I've learned that over the years. And of course, doctors don't understand the link between diet and food. And if you remember, many years ago, I talked to a vet. She had newly qualified as a vet. It takes longer to qualify as a vet than as a doctor, which is interesting. And we were talking about diet and lifestyle, etc. And she said, and I know I've said this before, but she said, that's really interesting you say that, because as a qualified vet, we are taught that when you go to see an animal, whether it's a guinea pig or a horse, 9 times out of 10, the ailment is directly linked to what the owner is feeding the animal. And so that's the first question we're trained to ask. And, unless it's got a bad leg, a cut ear, or, something visible and obvious, the first question you ask is, what are you feeding it? And you will never hear a human doctor ask a human patient, okay, so you've got autoimmune disease, or what, so what are you eating? Because they're not trained. Anyway, here's something fascinating. Now this shocked me. Now I understand completely the link between what you eat and how your health is. But this shocked me. So here we go. Would you, if you've got a small child or a grandchild, would you feed the following chemicals to a child? Synthetic hormones. I don't know what those are, but they don't sound good, do they? Piperenol, which is used as a lice treatment, amongst other things. Propylene glycol, and I know that's an antifreeze, that's what you put in your vehicle in the winter. Amyl acetate, that's an oil paint solvent. Ethyl acetate, that's used to clean leather in some products. Aldehyde C17 is used in plastics and rubber. What have all those things got in common? They're all put into ice cream. Isn't that fascinating? I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I mean, we all know ice cream's not good for you. But yeah, they're all in ice cream. Fascinating. Quite interesting. And not a little worrying and off-putting. Sorry to ruin your ice cream. Well, one of the mundane jobs I do every weekend when I come up here is I just run the hoe lightly between these garlic. And you can see the benefits of hoeing before the weeds appear. Keeps the soil crumbly, weed free, and the garlic appreciates having the no competition from any weeds. Definitely worth the effort, even though it's a very boring job. And the garlic I sowed from my own garlic bulbs that I grew last year, I've had 100% germination. Every single one of them has come up. They all look healthy. I couldn't be more pleased. And again, this has all been weeded and hoed. I won't do it today, I don't think, because the ground is still quite frozen, but definitely benefits from keeping that hoe moving. What a glorious day out there. It's absolutely stunning, and I think the weather forecast is like this for the rest of the week, so I will enjoy being at work. Yeah, so at the moment there's nothing to report on the house front. On the allotment, although we're now into March, with these cold nights, I'm in no rush to start sowing. I've got a few things going on at home. The incinerator you saw me emptying, I came up in the week, we had boxes and boxes of retained documents and files and letters and nonsense, utter rubbish. My wife and I are poles apart on this stuff. I throw away stuff far too easily, and she will not let stuff go. So I have said to many people actually that even if this house move doesn't come to anything, it has been a very useful exercise. We have emptied the loft. Yesterday I dragged everything out the garage, got rid of all the stuff we don't need, packed it, consolidated it and put it all, swept out, cleaned the garage and then put it all back in. So even that's had a good sort out. So it's been a useful exercise even if nothing happens. Anyway, I hope your gardens and allotments are going well wherever you are. As always, I will see you when I see you. I have no idea what we're doing. Things can change like that. I will keep you informed as I always do. Unfortunately, nothing to report as yet. All sorts of goings on with solicitors asking odd questions, but not worth worrying you with. Anyway, I'll see you when I see you. Until then, look after yourselves. Take care. Bye for now.